And welcome back to our continued coverage of the TIA 2015 Network of the Future Conference. Joining us now is Joseph Kopser. He's Chief Executive Officer and the founder of Ride Scout. He's also the keynote speaker tonight at the TIA 2015 VIP dinner. And Joseph, welcome.
Thanks, Abe. Glad to be here.
Thanks for being here. I was glad to have you as the VIP dinner keynote speaker. I know you're getting ready for that in the next couple hours. So we appreciate you being here.
It's cool to be here. I mean, obviously a lot of excitement, a lot of different companies. And at this time with the telecommunications industry, with technology the way it is, I'm thrilled that Scott asked me to be the VIP speaker for tonight.
Now, certainly Ride Scout's a familiar name in a lot of industries, but tell us a little bit about it.
So Ride Scout basically think of it as the kayak of ground transportation. It organizes all the chaos that is starting to emerge now in mobility. So when you look at traditional taxi, how it's been disrupted by Uber and Lyft and Sidecar, how the transit industry is going to real-time information for their buses and trains, as well as beginning the early days of mobile ticketing. And then when you look at the explosive growth of bike share and car share programs like Car2Go, building on the legacy of Zipcar, you now have so many options, and they're not organized until Ride Scout, and that's our mission, is to provide seamless door-to-door mobility for all in an effort to organize this transportation universe.
Now, certainly a lot of competition amongst app developers in the transportation space. How do they differentiate themselves from one another?
Well, really you have to think about it in kind of two major ways. Is the service a provider of transportation like Uber or Taxi Magic, or is it aggregating multiple modes that are out there? For instance, like Transit App or Move It or Ride Scout. So you're either a provider or an aggregator. And then the other thing that differentiates all the different apps that are out there that are starting to emerge on smartphones, whether it be an Android or iOS or even Windows, is whether or not it includes an account that knows you, or if it's just information being displayed and you, the user, have to make sense out of all of it. So it's only a 3 or 4 year old industry. Ride Scout itself is barely 2 years old, and yet there's a lot of evolution in the industry.
Joseph, the sharing economy is growing at an exponential rate. How does that tie back to, let's say, the telecommunications industry?
The telecommunications industry provides the real-time information that makes the sharing economy work. Look at Airbnb, for instance. If you didn't have an easy way through internet or mobile to let people know that your room was going to be available on the weekends, and then, most importantly, to take that notification down once somebody did reserve your room, it wouldn't work. Classified ads of old just didn't work. So Airbnb disrupted that space in terms of their ability to sell rooms and make use of available inventory. That's really where the telecommunications industry comes in. Their ability to do real time, their ability to do mobile, and their ability to be able to update through GPS where people are, that's disrupting transportation in a way right now that is moving at a speed faster than regulators can keep up, faster than city, state, and federal regulations keep up, and it's an exciting time. We refer to it often as the Wild West, where, if you think back to the 1800s, if people didn't like the way their city or government worked, they just kept moving west. They just kept moving west. In this particular industry right now, it's very definitely the Wild West.
Well, certainly agree that the transportation market's moving at breakneck speed, but probably some missed opportunities still in that space. What are some of those?
Well, from the telecommunications industry standpoint, the missed opportunity is really how we connect the different silos together. So when you look at stovepipes, whether it be the transit industry and the traditional train and the traditional bus, just look at Wi-Fi itself. If we could streamline Wi-Fi and put it on every last bus, every last train, and make it really reliable and increase that bandwidth, now you're talking about opening up productivity to commuters and travelers in a way they haven't experienced before. We hear anecdotes about cars that are now starting to shadow behind Greyhound buses on family trips to Florida because the Greyhound bus has Wi-Fi and that family wants to get close enough to get it. Now that's dangerous if you ask me, but it shows that there is a demand and how quickly can the telecommunications industry fill that gap. And that's just Wi-Fi, that's just one example, and there are a dozen more.
Joseph, I want to close by asking you where you see the future of mobility and the transportation space.
Mobility and the transportation in the future will not only be organized by companies like RideScout, but we're going to go towards bundled mobility allowances. So think about 15 years ago when you had a separate phone bill, separate from your cable bill, separate from your internet. Now what you're going to have in mobility is, rather than having one allowance to pay for ride for hire, taxi or Uber, and one allowance to pay for your monthly bus pass, or one allowance to pay for your car lease or car financing, we're going to move towards mobility services, and our company owned by Daimler is moving in that direction of Daimler Financial Services wants to have one mobility account that pays for all of it. And you see some of these trends starting to emerge. Mercedes Me is a great example of that, so that no matter what mode of transportation on the ground you move in, it's all covered in one. And the opportunities there are huge.
Joseph, it's a real pleasure to have RideScout under our roof for the TIA 2015 conference, and I'm looking forward to listening to your keynote later.
Thanks. I'm glad you guys came to Dallas to do it.
I appreciate it, Joseph. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. For all of TIA Now's coverage of TIA 2015 Network of the Future, please log on to tianow.org. So long.